Panther people, what up? You ever face off against your future self? I didn't think so. This isn't science fiction. But guess what? This Sunday, Bryce Young is about to do that against Tua Tagovailoa. You're watching Panthers post to Phil Perkins. If you may have noticed, I got the old cap in the Steve Smith style right now because of his performance last night on Thursday Night Football.
When teams call me and asking, should they trade for you? I will say no. Don't trade for Jerry Jeudy. We got things to do. We ain't got time to be watching a dude do nothing.
I cannot believe the NFL Network let Steve Smith do that kind of stuff. That was a public evisceration like I have never seen before. Shout out to Steve Smith, and also most likely the Panthers not getting Jerry Jeudy right now. It's not going down. Steve Smith's seal of approval. Stamp that. No go. No bueno. Panthers on tap. Panthers on tap. Asked Albert Breer. He was doing a live feed, and they asked, what are the Panthers most likely going to pick up a receiver? He said most likely Panthers are going to be sellers. And who did he name? He named Jeremy Chin. He named Dante Jackson. And I think he named Terrace Marshall Jr., which makes a lot of sense. Terrace Marshall didn't even get a snap, even though Frank Reich wanted him to, but he forgot that he was ready to play and didn't tell the rest of the players. Jeremy Chin only playing 30% of the snaps, and Dante Jackson, well, we know what's up with him with the injuries. They gone! All right, let's talk about the game. And the game within the game. They're never going to play each other directly. They don't play defense, but Tua Tagovailoa hosting Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. Full disclosure, I'm still afraid of the Carolina Panthers taking on the Miami Dolphins because the last time I remember the Dolphins hosting the Panthers, it was Cam Newton, the return. We thought, you know what, maybe he could be something. He could propel the Carolina Panthers to the postseason. And then our offensive line decided to just forget how to block, and Cam Newton was destroyed. And that was my lasting image of Cam Newton in the Carolina Panthers uniform. It was the worst. And so now we have our new franchise quarterback in Bryce Young. Yes, I still think he's the franchise, taking on Tua Tagovailoa and the rest of the Miami Dolphins. But he's not actually taking on Tua Tagovailoa, but it is inevitable to try to compare the two and their careers thus far. For those who are new to this, being a rookie quarterback is hard. And being a quarterback in general is hard. And going from Alabama to the NFL when you have the cream of the crop at your disposal and then not having the cream of the crop in the league that you're playing in at your disposal is tough. So it is not unprecedented that Bryce Young is dealing with what he's dealing with, and you don't have to look any further than the other side of the field this Sunday in Tua Tagovailoa. Must I remind people, before Tua Tagovailoa was heading towards a potential record-breaking season in terms of passing, when he was brought into the league, his pixie dust, his sparkle was out a little bit because remember he went back to school. Remember he burst onto the scene, replacing Jalen Hurts, who just couldn't get it done in the national championship game. Tua comes in, wins a championship for the Crimson Tide, decides to go back another year. He could have been the first overall pick. He then stays another year, breaks his hip. Not like his elbow, his knee, his ankle, his freaking hip. And last time you've seen a quarterback ever play, especially Dak Prescott warming up, the hip, kind of important. And so Tua injures his hip, breaks it. He falls down the draft. Justin Herbert is also in that draft. Joe Burrow, also in that draft. Tua Tagovailoa gets picked by the Miami Dolphins. Everyone's like, whoa, does he still have it? He's kind of small. He's kind of pudgy. We've already seen cracks about that, about his weight. He's such a nice guy. So great in the media. Very well spoken. So intelligent. Sound familiar? Oh, yeah. He's 6'1", 220. More like maybe 5'11". He's a little bit taller than Kyler Murray. Maybe about the same height as Bryce Young. The website right now says he's 6'1", 220. I don't know about that. And so he's a bit more rotund than Bryce Young, but we had our issues, him going into his rookie season. Ryan Fitzpatrick outplays him in his rookie year. Ryan Fitzpatrick and Tua is kind of going back and forth. And then after that, Tua gets thrust into the scene. And then remember, concussions galore. The guy is falling all over the place. That was actually the first time I thought in my head, I'm watching someone's career end right now. This was before guys were having heart attacks on the field. This was Tua stumbling around, not one game, but 2 games for the Miami Dolphins. And I was like, this guy's never going to play again. And then going into the offseason, we thought, is this guy going to retire? And it was an actual narrative heading into his 3rd year that is this guy going to actually put his body, put his brain into harm's way again? Can he take another hit? He's already broken his hip. He's had a couple really bad concussions. Not that it's good or bad, but they're still bad. And can this guy even play professional football anymore? And they got to start thinking, remember there was that controversy of bringing in Tom Brady. They had that whole legal situation before he went to Tampa Bay. The owner of the Miami Dolphins, oh, come on down. And, oh, look, Tom Brady's on the boat. head coach at the time, didn't want to deal with that kind of stuff. He's jettisoned. Tom Brady, not with the Miami Dolphins. Tua, still there. So he's kind of like, a lame duck quarterback. And so here he is. He's coming back. He's bulked up a little bit. He's doing jujitsu, learning how to fall, overthinking football. Who takes jujitsu just to learn how to fall so they don't get a career-ending concussion? So he's skirting around retirement, skirting around falling down improperly, skirting around Tom Brady and being replaced by somebody else. He even in this year, he was not believed really to be the heir apparent. And so he's had a tough time. He's had a tough time. And I'm just rambling now, so I got my timelines all wrong. But basically, this guy hasn't been smooth sailing in his NFL career. Not even close. And the two things really that have really saved him in his career is Mike McDaniel, his new head coach, offensive whiz kid that people don't believe is actually a football guy because he sounds like, honestly, one of us, sounds like a vlogger when he talks. And he saved him. Tyreek Hill saved him. Jalen Waddle at times have saved him. Putting pieces around him are redeeming him. And compared to his year without Tyreek Hill and Mike McDaniel, and to the year he had Tyreek Hill and Mike McDaniel, it's an extra 1,000 yards in passing. I think he had about 2,200 yards, 2,400 yards in his second year. Insert Tyreek Hill in 2022, an extra 1,000 yards. And then now you have him again. The guy's blowing stuff up, probably going to surpass the NFL passer rating in his fourth year. I don't do math right now, okay? I'm rambling. But basically what I'm saying is what Bryce is going through right now is not new. And you can have so many parallels with Tua. Bryce Young, super smart, field general, leader, Heisman Trophy winner, not national championship winner, that's fine. But super well-spoken, super good with the media, almost too good with the media, undersized, conventionally speaking. Injury worries with that. Is he a system guy going from Alabama to the NFL? Is he going to have, the ability to translate that success right away to the NFL? Not going to happen. Have a bit of an injury scare with the ankle, but nothing like a broken hip, nothing like a concussion, knock on wood, that's steel, whatever. But we have that issue right now that Tua didn't have a lot of weapons. He had a defensive-minded head coach who may or may not have worked with his strengths. Now, Frank Reich is an offensive head coach, but as what we have seen, they may not be playing to Bryce's strengths at this point. We got reports now that they're trying to simplify the offense a little bit, just help him do what he does best, and that, makes plays. He's, get under center, RPOs, running around a little bit more, making defenses work a little bit. But he also doesn't have receivers that get open. Tua Tagovailoa, I think he had Devontae Parker potentially as one of his number one wide receivers in Miami when he first started. So you got Bryce kind of coming from the same mold as Tua. He doesn't have to look that far down the line that says it gets better. I'm sure they went out for dinner maybe afterwards because it's the bye week for the Panthers, thank goodness. But he doesn't have to look that far. So he has the pieces in place, at least in the staff, in my opinion, to get to where Tua is sooner. So he's got Frank Reich ready. He doesn't have a defensive head coach, but he's got Frank Reich. If Frank Reich is no longer calling the plays, maybe they get that young offensive coordinator in Thomas Brown, who comes from the Sean McVay system, to make things a little bit sexier, to make things a bit more confusing, like he said in the preseason, to compensate for the lack of vertical speed and separation ability that the wide receivers have right now by confusing the defense of where they're about to go. Sure, it might look gimmicky, whatever, but if it gets the job done and gets potential W's against the Texans, the Bears, the Colts, the Jags, I think it's all worth it. Take a minute. We don't have that many draft capital right now, but as I mentioned earlier in the show, Albert Breer is saying that the Panthers, instead of picking up wide receivers, might have to just deal with what they got, but actually sell players for draft picks, whether that's Jeremy Chin, who I think you can maybe get a second or third round pick for, Dante Jackson, maybe a fifth or sixth, Terrace Marshall, maybe there's an offensive guy out there, maybe in some place like San Francisco that they think, he's a big body wide receiver. We have Brandon Ayuk. We have I forget his name already. Doesn't matter. Deebo Samuel. Maybe add another big guy, a more of a possession, tight end, wide receiver type. Maybe they give us a fifth. So you add a little bit more to those late round picks. And who's picking the picks? I don't know. That's for another episode. But maybe you let those guys go to try to draft players that could fit a scheme better that fits Bryce Young's skill set. I think we need to stress that much because I would take Bryce Young's early career experience than Tua's, because literally we thought Tua was going to be out of the game after 3 years. So say what you want about the comparisons. I think the Panther fans aren't that far away from feeling good, the same way the Miami Dolphin fans are feeling right now. I think it just takes a couple players on the offense. I think the offensive line has played better. I think Bryce has played better. Let me know how you guys think. The comparison between the two, do you feel good? I'm not even going to care about the game. I just want to see Bryce learn. And I think we all need to understand that that's what this wins now are Bryce Young playing well, given the circumstances, and making something out of nothing with the players that he has. And Adam Thielen continue to do what he does. If Adam Thielen comes out of this one, 120 yards, a touchdown, and Bryce Young has got a couple touchdowns and maybe one pick instead of 3, I'm happy. Let me know what you think. Do I think the Panthers are going to win? No. Do I think make it close in the end in garbage time? Maybe. So 30-21. Boom. There you go. Let me know what you guys think. See you guys after the game.